In this video, we're going to be going over creating a custom working style wizard. Think of this as your default parameters for all of your equipment and how you like to record data. So to do this, we're going to go into settings, and then we're going to go into our customization tab, and we have working style wizards. You can create multiple ones. That way, if you have different parameters for different types of projects, you can adjust them. But we're going to just create a new one here. Go to next. We'll name it, we'll just name it example. And next. So on your measure and target, when you're using a total station, we can say measure would be your foresight. So we select what kind of prism we want to use, or we can use create a custom prism if needed, using a third-party prism. Same thing with our setup. We can switch it to like a round or whatever, and then those will be defaulted in, so you're not switching your prism types during your setup. And how you want it to measure it to make sure you get the most accurate results. So once we've accepted that, then we have our target prediction. So what this is if the robot is tracking you and you go behind, say, a column, as long as you're walking at the same speed, the instrument will continue to rotate at that same walking speed you were going on. And after you come out the other side, it'll lock back on you without having to do any kind of searching. Your power search window, whenever you do a power search, you can set the limits to where you want it to search to help speed up the search process. And then find search window, this is when the instrument's lost you, but it's facing your general area. You can do this instead of having the robot spin, and it'll look within these parameters to find the prism. Of course, atmospheric corrections, you're going to put in your temperature, your pressure, and all that to make sure you're getting accurate results. Your refraction, same deal there. So we'll just hit OK here. Your offset modes, you have a bunch of different options here for your offsets for measurements you can't actually get the prism pull on. If you have duplicate measurements, you can check the distance between the measurements just to let you know you've already got it. Maybe you have it defined as control versus measured data. And then set your tolerances for your two-phase check. So if you're doing two-phase setups, that way here's where you can set what you define as being okay to work with. Lights, if you want a red laser pointer out the tip of the instrument, I use that laser pointer a lot when I'm doing vertical construction, and I want to see the red dot on the slab to make my mark. Electronic guide lights, this is where it's going to give you the yellow and red left and right, so if you're really far away from the instrument, you can't tell which way it's facing. As it spins around, you'll see left or right to get in line with the instrument if you need to use it. As good as the tracking and searching is, I usually leave that off to conserve power now, but some guys just still like to see those lights. So we'll hit OK here. Now for GPS, if your receiver is licensed for additional constellations, you can add your additional constellations to it, and it'll automatically use those during its tracking. Regional, this would be for satellite, basically terrestrial satellite corrections, to get you your SBAS corrections, get you down within a couple feet. Augmentation, if you have the smart link feature, if you are using a basin rover or network, and say you go down into a place where you're losing radio signal for a short amount of time, it will correct the RTK data like it's still receiving based off of satellite augmentation. Cutoff angle, this is where we can set off the horizon of the receiver where we don't want to see satellites below a certain degree. Basically, down at 1 degree, you're not going to really get any good math off those satellites. So why make the receiver compute them in the solution. Dop limit, your quality of your satellite geometry. You can go in there and set your perimeters for it. L2C, I always leave that on always track, and satellite health automatic, so it's throwing out noisy signals or satellites that have been compromised. And then we set our default antenna heights. This is pretty self-explanatory here. And then our quality control. I showed this in another video where we can check, make sure that the tilt is turned on before you measure. Automatically stop the point based on accuracy or time. So if we want to take an instant shot, we leave it on instantaneous. If we want to say we want to average on it for a minute, we can hit time and parameters. Tell it we want 60 seconds. It'll take 60 seconds worth of data. So it's 20 times a second with the Leica using 20 hertz update rate. So you get a ton of readings, and it'll average them out and store a really accurate position. Also check your quality before storing. So if you have it on instantaneous, you can make sure that those instant shots are good as well. This is just, automatically start when you go into the app. Some people like that just because they know they're ready to measure. They're just starting a topo job. As soon as they hit measure, it takes the measure application. It takes a shot, and then you just start carrying on with your shots. If you need to log raw GPS data, it's going to say, where does it store it to? So if I'm running a base station and rover, I usually say store it to the GS sensor, tell it the interval I want it to log the raw data at, and the format I want to use to send off to Opus. So you can select Rhinex, send the O file to Opus, and have them send you back a solution. Tilt compensation, it's going to say, you just want to compensate, or do you want to just store the tilt value only? Always leave it on compensate to store. I haven't found an advantage of just storing the tilt without actually compensating for it. ID templates. So GS points, whenever you go into measure and you start measuring, this is how it's going to increment your numbers. So right now it's set, if you're using GPS and total station on the same controller, you can easily identify what shots are GPS and total station. We can go in here and change it to like GS auto, if we're doing an auto topo, or we can just do manually enter and put in the number 1, and it's just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, just like any other software out there. Same for these others. Coding, so we can have it create line work or only code the points. I usually, leave it on create line work, and that way I, still have the option when I'm in there. And then the line work, we can set up our codes to start and stop them. But within the Captivate measure application, there's much easier tools than trying to remember a bunch of codes to start, stop, and end lines that you can just click right from the screen and use your arrow keys to quickly navigate through coding and line work. User-defined pages. So this is where, when you're in the different applications, measure and whatnot, you can go in and see what all information you want to see on the screen at the time. So any information you want, it's available. You just have to go in here and set it up to be able to see it. Hotkeys. So on the controller, you have all these F keys. And you can assign a ton of different options. If you want to quickly go between applications, you're in stakeout, you want to go to measure, you can set it, stakeout F7, measure F8, and toggle between them quickly. Or you can change it where instead of hitting OK or enter for storing a point, you can make F12 store, so it's down at the bottom right hand corner. Just easier on your hands. That's all that is. And then there's additional hotkey options to add. You can use the function button and create even more hotkeys. Prompt before storing. So say you wanted to prompt your point ID, code, height, and all that. After it takes a shot, it will go ahead and prompt you that you want to that everything you had in there was correct, so you don't code anything wrong. The overview camera. So this is if you have imaging on the robot, you'll see what resolution and all that. Regional, this is where you're going to set up your regional settings, what type of measurement data you want to receive back and reports, and when you store points, your stationing, things like that. Same with slope if you want ratio, percentage, angle, degrees, minutes, and seconds, all that good stuff. Clock format, coordinates, you want northing, easting, or in Europe they use easting, northing. Change your language if you have some other guys out there. So we'll just hit OK here. Software startup. So when we're using Captivate on the robot, I usually like to set to level the total station. So as soon as you cut it on, it goes to the level screen. And then once it's complete, you can select, which app it directly goes into, or just the home screen. Startup pin. This will lock your instrument. So if it was to get stolen, it's basically useless to whoever's got their hands on it. If you don't want it to make any noise, you can go into audio, turn off the audio, or you can use the function in speaker plus and minus here to change the volume. And then the position update rate, you always want this as low as possible to get the maximum, get rid of any screen lag and give you also a better solution on your GPS. Duplicate point. So if we use the same point ID for measurements on the same shot, say with different instruments, we can have it weigh out those points. So say I shot something with GPS at one time, and I ran back through, shot that same point number with a total station. It's going to take the height from the off from the total station and use the tightest instrument solution for that point number. It's just letting me know because I'm in simulator and I'm not actually hooked to anything that I can actually use some of the options I selected. So I'm just going to set that. That's all to setting it up, and once it's set, it's there. Like I say, create as many as you want with different parameters. Well, I hope this is helpful to you guys, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to answer them. Thank you for watching, and be on the look for the next one.